Hey everybody, it's Greg from the Art of Relationships. Now, today, going to be talking about rituals in your relationship. Some of them are bad, which, let's face it, need to be broken or stopped. And some of them, good ones that need to be increased, of course. We're going to talk about these right after this, so don't go anywhere with the Art of Relationships show. Hey everybody, talking about relationship rituals. A lot of people talk about rituals, right? Or are they habits? What is the difference between one or the other? Are rituals, are they more intentional? Are they ones that you pay attention to, that they're more, maybe they're more important in your life than certain habits? We have habits that we put our, we put our left leg or right leg in our pants every day, probably 100% of the time. One goes in first before the other one, right? That might be a habit. How we tie our shoes, maybe the way we eat with a fork might be a habit. But what about rituals in your relationship? And let's go after, let's face it. Hey, Jared. Hey, Tony, I appreciate you tuning in. So we're going to go after, what are rituals you want to break in your relationship? And a lot of them. What about how you handle disagreements or talk about relationship problems? Okay, so if we go after these situations, you know what, oh my god, I can't even bring up this topic anymore because I know she or he is going to blow up, right? They're going to shut down and not want to talk about it, and therefore I'm going to feel like, I'm not important. What I have to say, what I have, what I feel is not important to my partner, and it's going to create a huge disconnect. And sooner or later, let's face it, the relationship, if it does continue, it's going to be miserable. It's going to be shallow. It's not going to have the depth that you crave in what you're going after. So, a ritual is how you handle disagreements. Do you argue all the time? Oh, I know if we do this, it's going to create an argument. If we talk about the in-laws, the outlaws, that type of situation, the rituals of how you handle problems needs to change, okay? Do you have a ritual where if someone talks about you, or let's face it, your partner, okay, it brings up an issue that they feel disrespected, they don't feel that you're paying attention to them, you're not important to them, what is your automatic response? Do you roll your eyes? Do you get defensive? Do you shut down, or do you go a tit for tat? That would be, a ritual as how you handle those situations, and they need to stop. What other rituals do you want to break in your relationship or in your marriage, okay? Do you ever look for people to interview with any more, just one or can answer later, maybe. Oh, sure. Yeah, I do look for people to interview, to be honest with you, absolutely. And I have some people I'm going to have on the show. Or are you actually wanting actual people to interview, like yourself or like Tony or anybody else? Are you looking at people that have problems or questions, or do you want other professionals on the show? I would love it. And I have a couple lined up actually to help with different areas, different topics. So I appreciate the question. Going back to the avenue, about looking at other rituals. It could be parenting rituals. It could be, avenues about how you eat dinner together. That could be a ritual, right? How many people do eat dinner together? That was an old school thing. And it's hard to do when people work different shifts, when people work different hours. One person might get out of work at 5 o'clock. The other one doesn't get out to work until 8 p.m. And, how do you eat dinner together? You might not be able to. So you might want to look at reinstilling what other rituals happen, or, what other rituals you can take place if you cannot eat together, okay? Even if you have a ritual that you instill about, spending maybe even 10 minutes, 20 minutes together every day, undivided attention could be a huge ritual to be able to look at those situations and to go after what you could do, what are some areas to improve on in rituals. It could be going away, maybe going a couple times a year on an overnight trip, a weekend getaway, that type of situation. What other rituals can you think of that you would like to put in place, right? Everybody talks about, we have birthday rituals, we have anniversary rituals, right? We have those type of situations. We celebrate kids' birthdays. We celebrate those rituals, but you look at those situations that can work out for you, but you also want to look at what rituals do you want to stop or do you want to break. And one thing about rituals, you know what? You can change them. They can be flexible. And Tony just mentioned, on the chat about, can rituals be considered as repetition? Absolutely, Tony. They can be repetition, but they can be good things. Everybody looks at, repetition, right? That it's boring. It's, oh my God, here we go again. It's boring. It's mundane. Rituals can also be spontaneous. You can implement new rituals, or you can add an extra, you can add a twist to old rituals, right? Can you shake them up a little bit? Can you, mix them up a little bit? If you go away on a weekend, maybe instead of, going away, the same place every time, every year, maybe you can go to a different place and shake it up a little bit. Maybe you can add a mix and different element to old rituals that can still be celebrated, okay? Rituals need to be celebrated, and it could be, little simple things. It could be, when was the last time, if you eat dinner together, do you toast each other? Do you give thanks for each other in your life? If you're on good terms, that is, okay? So you want to be able to look at, those type of elements about, can you add a certain twist to it so it's not repetition? And I'm one that is never about, what do I want to say? I'm never about doing things out of simply habit, okay? I'm not one that is just doing it just to do it. I want there to be intention behind it. And on my wall, I have be intentional with your love. Even, one of my tattoos is love intentionally, right? Right there. So you can look at, I'm all about being intent. So even if you have rituals and a repetition, that does not mean you're just going through the motions. That doesn't mean you're being boring. There's a big difference with rituals. Even, if you say a goodnight kiss, right, before you go to bed, right? Is that a ritual or is that a habit? Would that be a ritual you want to be intentional with? Maybe a habit is not as intentional as a ritual that you do. You sit down, you eat dinner together. That could be a ritual. But do you also, sit down and just go through the motions, or are you intentional, or are you having a ritual of engaging each other, asking each other about your day? Do you toast each other, right? Man, I'm glad, I love you. I'm glad we're together. I'm glad you're in my life. So you can add an extra mix and shake up those rituals so they're not boring, okay? And some people, let's face it, humans, we are habitual creatures, right? So sometimes when it's about, repetition and all this stuff, that's okay. It can give you a sense of safety, give you a sense of belonging and togetherness. So it's not always a situation where it's always boring and mundane, right? It's the negative. It's the toxic rituals that you want to break, or toxic habits. It's, the ritual of how you argue, like I mentioned at the beginning of the show, to be able to go after, how you argue together, that you don't spend enough time together. A ritual, it's a ritual. I go out, every Friday, Saturday night with the boys, or she goes out with the ladies every Friday, Saturday night. Maybe you want a new ritual. You like that, you enjoy that, but maybe you feel lonely in the relationship. And what can you do to entice and to be able to shake up a little bit where you're more connected and have rituals that are more pleasurable within, the relationship or marriage. And these are, things that, I bring up and I give to couples right here. Okay. Right here. I give, usually the first session, I might give these. These are different, and I call them intimacy building, but they also can be added to the ritual list and what works for you. Rituals can be on a daily basis, people, like eating, dinner together, if possible, that you give each other a hug and a kiss goodnight. You wake up and give each other a hug and a kiss. That can be habitual, but it also can be a ritual, and you're doing it intently. You're not just going through the motions and doing it. You're doing it with purpose. And I'm huge on feelings, and I'm huge on purpose, right? What are you doing with that's purposeful, even in a ritual, right? Are you doing it just to do it, or is there a purpose behind it? You can go to the same place, a weekend getaway. You can, go to the same place every year because you both like it, both enjoy it, even though it's repetition. You can still enjoy that and have purpose is to enjoy each other. You get me? So when you look at, a ritual, you look at something, it's about celebrating each other. And you can celebrate yourselves, excuse me, as an individual. Hold on a sec. Excuse me, as I drink coffee, my voice is going through puberty again. So you can look at that, and these are, a list, and I'll read through some of them. It's just, kiss every time you greet each other and every time you part. Can that be a ritual? Absolutely. It can be a positive ritual. It can be repetitions, but are you doing it because you feel it? How many times have you, kissed each other and the other one, or maybe you have said, you know what? I want you to kiss me like you mean it, right? Man, I want to feel you kiss me, not just a peck, not just like a grandma. And sometimes we're in a rush, we're in a hurry, a little peck on the cheek, but how many times are on the lips? How many times have you wanted to say, I didn't really feel that. There was no behind it. There is no intention behind it. So can you have a ritual where maybe you kiss and make out every night for 5 minutes, that you kiss passionately? How many times have you done that on a daily basis instead of just a peck on the lips, right? When was the last time? Can you have a ritual that you're going to deep kiss for at least a couple minutes, and you want to enjoy that, and it is not just out of habit, right? So rituals can be purposeful. You get me? So that's where I want you to come up with rituals, and to stop the toxic rituals, stop the negative rituals, the arguing, how you argue, how you get into battles. Are you do you have a ritual of listening to each other and having their undivided attention, or they have your undivided attention instead of being on the phones or watching TV? Can you look at each other when you talk about each other? Okay. So you can cuddle every time you sit down on the sofa together, right? Do you, hug him or her every time, he does something that you like? And I'm not talking about training like a dog or a puppy, okay? But, if he gives you a compliment, oh, thank you, that type of situation, right? Now, how often do you have a ritual of touching each other, even sitting next to each other? Like I said, are we able to integrate and instill positive rituals with each other? It doesn't have to be according to everybody else, right? The rituals are about you and about you two, right? We talk about Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, maybe Easter. Now Halloween's coming up. Maybe you have a ritual of, Halloween's your favorite holiday, which a lot of people love, Thanksgiving. Those are rituals, right? But you can have rituals on a daily basis that are just keyed in to you two making each other feel special, making each other feel alive and desired and loved, okay? Tony, we talked and put aside one night a week to just sit down together with no TV or radio to just talk to each other about our week and any other things that are bothering us personally. And I love that, Tony. That's awesome. And that is actually one I recommend about being able to have a ritual that you can talk about the status of the relationship. And I mentioned that on, other episodes and stuff, excuse me, as well, to be able to go after, rituals that it could be once a week, it could be once a month. I love the once a week situation that you can talk about anything, the relationship. And it's very difficult if you have one person that is open and likes to talk. I'm one. I like to talk. I can talk about anything. And if you're with somebody that doesn't like to talk, or it's more a monologue instead of a dialogue, that there's feedback going back and forth, that you're able to carry on a conversation, and it's not just one-sided. It gets old if one person just gives one-word answers. Yes, no. What'd you do today? Nothing. Really? What'd you find out? Was anything funny today? No. And there's no dialogue. There's no ebb and flow. There's no creativity in the mix, and you're bored, right? That there's no depth. There's no connecting with each other. Another ritual I bring up that goes with, what Tony said as well. Dr. Ahrens, I can't take credit for this. Dr. Ahrens had 36 questions, and they even have an app that you could take, you could ask each other a question, who would you like, someone that passed away, who would you like to talk to again? What movie star that passed away would you like to have a conversation with, or back live again? What are your desires? What are your dreams? They can change year to year, right? So what Dr. Ahrens, advised, he more or less used it to get to know people. But I tell people, you can use this to bring up questions with each other, right? And you can go over, ask a question, a question a week. That's 36 weeks, right? And you can reinvent questions. You can edit them, change them, those type of things, to have a ritual and talk about the status of the relationship. A lot of people look at, life gets in the way, the kids, work, businesses, all those situations. And it's like life decides, right? The rituals for you. I want you to flip that script and to be able to be intentional, right? Be purposeful and start having rituals for you two, that you are a priority. Can you talk about situations in the relationship, what you both need to feel more alive, to feel more desired, to feel more loved, to feel like you're more of a priority? And also, hey, when was the last time, you had a question about asking your partner, what can I do to be a better partner? What stuff I can stop doing? That's part of, like Tony said, the weekly ritual that you can pump up, and that you really care about the relationship, and you care about what each other has to say, what each other's going through, what each other feels, and what could be ebbed and flow, right? Not a right or wrong, okay? There's another thing that, what about a ritual that you could do once a month, or, you could meet at a bar or a restaurant and start hitting on each other. You could role play a certain situation maybe once a month. One person's a rock star. One person is sort of shy, maybe a librarian type. One person could be a porn star that you want to act out on, right? There could be that type of ritual within your relationship that you can kick it up a notch, right? So rituals can be small. They don't have to be grandiose. They can be simple. They can be, little simple things, just eating together and telling each other, when was the last time you told each other that what you love about each other, what you loved that you did this week. You know what? It could be laundry. It could be, I know, Tony, I know you're a rock star, bro, big time. So that wouldn't be a fantasy. So, are you able to look at those situations? And, little simple things can be a ritual that enhances the relationship and enhances the connection with you both, okay? And, hey, I want to talk. Oh, what do you want to talk about? And the other person doesn't want to talk or never has anything to say about it. I'm not a talker. Well, I want to be with someone that talks and engage, that type of situation, okay? So when was the last time, even when you eat dinner, right? When was the last time you played footsies with each other? Sort of rubbing on each other's feet and being ticklish and being, that type of situation. That can be a ritual that you enjoy with each other, okay? So there are a lot of things that you can go after, right? Going back to, like I said, when was the last time, you sat down and told each other what you like or what you love about each other? It could be simple. Man, I love how you handled the kids this week. Have a ritual that embraces the essence of who you both are as people and how you want to be together, okay? So it's not about, going after, break up the rituals of how you criticize, how you judge, how you, rip apart each other. It's very easy. And I ask couples, on a daily basis, what do you like or love about each other? And I joke around. Okay, it depends on what day of the week it is. Let's be real, right? But how many people have a hard time looking at that? But if I was to ask you the ritual of what pisses you off about your partner, what don't you like about your partner, you're going to be able to just bam, bam, bam. You're going to be able to flow with so many things about negative stuff. But what about, the positive elements that you are looking at, that you are, looking at within each other? It's very easy to point out the negatives, but what do you like? What do you love about each other? And have a ritual, even a weekly ritual about talking about each other, okay? Even, let's face it, do you have even 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes a day to connect and about what you like about each other, what you did, what you appreciate about your partner and what they did for you on a daily basis, right? You can sit that and you're going to notice a connection. You're going to feel more appreciated. Your partner's going to feel more appreciated with, with you big time, right? When you feel appreciated, have that ritual that you appreciate each other on a daily basis. Like I said, rituals can be on a daily basis. They don't have to be grandiose. You don't have to wait for birthdays, holidays, an anniversary. Oh, now I have to be special. What do you do to integrate positive, healthy rituals on a daily basis, okay? When, and what can you do to make a daily thing not be humdrum? By appreciation, right? Making each other feel loved. Little compliments, little affirmations can go a long way, and integrate those rituals on a daily basis. And you're going to start seeing your relationship, people, catapult and get more connected. And you're going to start feeling the relationship is going to sort of wake up a little bit. And it's not going to be so mundane and so boring if you integrate these aspects. Maybe you have a ritual of a game night once a week, okay? You can have a movie night once a week, a game night once a week. You can, okay, we're going to get out of the house once a week, even if it's a ritual to go on a walk every night, right? Or every day, a bike ride, motorcycle ride, whatever you're into, a car ride, that you can do a ritual that can be good, that you look forward to in a relationship that is about building together and building connection. It's about enjoying each other, okay? Even people have a date night ritual, right? And you won't ever hear me say have a date night. And a lot of people, oh, you need a ritual of a date night. But let's face it, you have a date night because Greg said so, right? And you're not connected. You're bored, right? You don't know what to talk about. You feel like you don't like each other, but have a date night. And you've heard it from a lot of other professionals, TV, radio, you hear it all over the place, right? You won't hear me say have a date night, not ever, because of those reasons. I want you to have rituals, to have new rituals. What do you do to enjoy each other? There's a big difference between have a date night and doing stuff, integrating new rituals that you enjoy each other, okay? That is a huge difference between the toxic, the negative rituals that you have in place, how you fight, how you handle finances, how you talk about sex. You know how it's going to go. Like Tony said, it's repetition. It could be a habit, but it's rituals, how you interact together when the shit hits the fan. When things are not going well, what are those rituals? I know, believe me, I've been there, okay? I know what negative rituals. I can almost predict what is going to happen, and I'm sure you can too. I want to break those negative, toxic rituals and instill and integrate some more positive ones where maybe you have a ritual of talking how you feel about each other, about complaints. But do you complain and you do this, you do that? Or, you know what, I would like to feel more loved by you. I would like to feel closer to you. I'd love to feel like you desire me more. So there's a big difference than bashing each other and having a bashing ritual than integrating, having a more positive ritual of, you know what, how you would like to feel. Big difference, right? Well, you want someone, you do this, you do that, versus, man, I would love you to love me a different way. I would love you to be, to desire me more. I'd love you to be more sensual in the bedroom. And now, would that ritual turn into, well, this is me, this is how I am? Then, if that continues, you have to start looking at if those negative, toxic rituals are still in place and they don't get broken, they don't get worked on, and still more positive rituals of becoming closer, more sexual, more sensual, more loving, more connected with each other. Then you have to look at, is that relationship or marriage, is it viable and is it good enough for you and how you want to be in your life, okay? So positive rituals are also about looking at rituals within yourself as an individual. What do you want to change? How you want to live, and what do you want to stop, okay? So check out my website, theartofrelationships.org. I'm live every Wednesday. Oh, I'd love your feedback real quick. I am going to be taking the Art of Relationships show to a nighttime time slot to get more feedback, more interaction. And I'm also going to have it set up and in place where I can take phone calls. And I am going to be integrating where I have a lot more guests on the show as well, which Jared, suggested. And I have guests. It's been a while. Once in a while, I have guests on the show that we can talk about certain things and different ideas and different feedback, that you get a variety of ideas that'll help you have a great relationship that you've always craved, okay? So peace and love to everybody out there. Everybody take care. Thanks so much for tuning in.